Now today's class is all about Twitter, and since I have not taught Twitter before, I wanted to start out with kind of an introductory class that would teach you not only how to get your account set up on Twitter and to get everything set up and running for next class, where we will get on to some more complicated tactics with Twitter, but I'm also going to be teaching you about how you can get some of the initial followers on your account without having to spend anything or really put forth a whole lot of effort for that matter. Now I'm on the Twitter site here. I've already created my account that I'm using with the Carbon Fanatic website, but I'm still going to at least go through the initial process here of creating another account just so you can see how all this works, and so I can give you my recommendations during this process. So over here we have a sign-up box on Twitter, and it's asking us for our name, email, and a password for our account that we want to create. Now you can start out by just providing your full name if you would like to here. Other people will sometimes decide to use perhaps the name of their business, which is completely okay to do. And you can actually go back and change this later on, so whatever you pick out here, it's not going to be set in stone. So let me punch in some information here for getting this account created. Now once I proceed on here to this second step, the main thing that I need to focus on is my username selection right here. In a lot of cases, you can simply use your website domain name as your Twitter username, assuming that it's actually available on Twitter, because nobody can have the same username as another person. Now for my site, with it being Carbon Fanatic, it contains one of my keyword phrases in my website name. I have at least the word carbon there. So for a minimum, that is acceptable for me, as long as it has one relational word in there that can kind of clue people in as to what my account is actually about by simply seeing my username. However, you could try to change your username a little bit from what your domain name is if you would like to, and ultimately whatever kind of keyword phrase you can include in this username, a keyword that you think people will commonly search on Twitter for, then this can help you to attract new followers to your account in the future, basically on autopilot. So while I could use Carbon Fanatic is actually what I ended up picking for my real Twitter account that I've actually created for this site. But I could also do something like Carbon Fiber Fan, which happens to be taken. I think I actually already claimed that in the previous class. So I could go for something like Carbon Fiber Wrap, which again is taken, but this happens to be a common keyword phrase. Whatever you end up going for, I can change this carbon fiber fans that should be available. So this has some kind of relation to what my niche is about. So people that are searching carbon fiber on Twitter can end up finding my account this way. Now the next thing that I want to do down here, this setting that says tailor Twitter based on my recent website visits, I typically unselect this particular setting because I'm involved in a lot of different niches and I will commonly visit a lot of different types of sites, and ultimately Twitter's not going to really be able to tailor anything to my needs, and ultimately I don't really need them to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and create my account now. But once you've created your account, you're not technically in your account yet. You have this initial setup process that you have to go through before your account is actually usable. So just click on the next button up here, and this will take us into a series of steps here to add Twitter followers to our account. So Twitter requires you in the beginning to follow at least 10 other accounts. So this first step here, it is asking us to follow 5 accounts. So right here in the search bar, you can simply search for something relevant to your niche. So I will search for carbon fiber here. Now this brings up some results for me, and as you can see, there are a number of pages here right up in the top that are all related to carbon fiber. I have carbon fiber gear. I'm actually familiar with them and have seen them on Facebook. Carbon fiber guru, carbon fiber news, carbon fiber tube. So these all look like good, relevant accounts for me to be following. So scrolling down just a little bit more, I need to find a 5th account that I can follow here. So now that I have 5 accounts being followed, it allows me to click on the next button up here and proceed to the next step. Now it wants me to add in 5 more accounts. It's asking me to find and follow well-known people. This can actually be a good recommendation, although it will ultimately depend on what your niche really is. There are certain industries where you will have well-known famous people that not just people within a limited area know, but maybe across the entire country, or possibly even some kind of international star in that particular industry. Just as a wild example, cooking. If you were involved in any kind of cooking related niche, you could easily find TV show personalities that have various types of cooking shows, like Gordon Ramsay, for example. And you could try to find him on Twitter and follow him, because obviously anybody that is connected up with those people on their Twitter accounts, people that are following them, could be potential customers of whatever it is that you're trying to promote on your site. Those people would likely be interested in the blog posts that you make. So your ultimate goal here is to get yourself connected in with the right circles on Twitter so the proper people can find your account. Now, if you don't have a niche that has famous people, or maybe you're just not aware of who they are and you don't want to go through the hassle of trying to research who those people are, this is not a absolutely necessary step in the process. You don't have to find well-known people. You can still simply search for a keyword phrase right here instead of a person's name. So I can actually search carbon fiber once again here and get the same results that I was seeing previously. And then I could go back through and simply follow a few more of these accounts until I actually have a total of 10 that I'm following. So now that I'm following 10 different accounts here, I can proceed on to the next step. Now this next step, it is asking me to add 5 more people to my Twitter account. But I actually don't have to complete this particular step. If you have certain friends of yours that would be involved with your Twitter account having to do with this website, maybe even they have some friends of theirs that could possibly be interested in what you're doing, and maybe they're willing to like retweet stuff for you to their friends. There are some cases like that where you would want to have people that you know linked up to your Twitter account. But then there are other situations where, let's say you have a lot of other marketing friends, but maybe they're not true friends of yours, just acquaintances or something, and you don't really want to share what you're doing with those particular people. Then obviously you would not want to add in additional contacts here. So if you don't need this step, just go down here to the bottom. There is a little skip link, so you can actually bypass this particular step. Now this brings us up to the biography creator. This is going to be the initial setup of our profile information. And all we have to do right here is just upload an image for our profile image. Now if you look over here at all of these other accounts that I'm following, you can see that they all have an image that is next to their account, their recent tweet, or whatever is showing up here. All of these images come from this uploaded image right here. So whatever you upload for your site will be representing your account wherever other people see it. So keep this in mind when you're choosing an image. You want something that is going to be representative of your niche by people simply looking at it. You want that image to help draw in new followers for you, for example. When people are searching for accounts to follow, just like I was doing a minute ago, they might be scrolling through a list of accounts, and when you can have an image there that will draw in their attention if they are interested in whatever it is that you have to offer, then you'll find yourself attracting a lot more followers on autopilot. Now the actual image that you upload, it can actually be of any size. However, take note that, right here, this image that's being displayed and all of these, they are all squared images in terms of their height and their width. So whatever image you upload here, if it is not of square proportions like that, then Twitter will ask you to crop it to where you are choosing basically a square section out of it that will be used for this image. So larger rectangular images will often not work. You'll end up having to choose a certain section of that image to use. So try to find something that is simply a squared image, if at all possible. But you may be able to do some minor cropping when you upload that and still have good results, even if your image isn't perfect. Now for the biography right here, you are essentially just wanting to describe what your account is about. And definitely get a little heavy on your keyword phrase usage in your bio there, because that will help you with people's searches. When people are searching for other relational accounts to follow, they can not only find you by your username, but it could also be based on additional information that you are including in your profile, like this bio right here. Now, since this particular account is not an account that I'm actually going to be using, and I've already set up my real account that I'm going to be using for the Carbon Fanatic website, I'm going to not actually go through and set up this profile right here. There are additional steps to this profile besides these two initial steps. So I will show you those inside of my actual account here in just a couple of minutes. So for now, after I have jumped into my account here, there is a confirmation email that it's going to be sent to whatever email address you used for your account. Make sure you simply go and find that email and click on the link in it. It will verify your account and give you complete access to all of Twitter's features. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to my actual account that I have set up for this site that I've been working on. Now, in this account here, there are a number of things that you can do before you actually go on to posting tweets on your account. So that is the reason why we are starting out with more of an introductory class, and then next week I'll be providing you guys with a custom plugin that you'll be installing in your sites, and it will help you automate your Twitter postings just like we have done for our Facebook posts. So for now, I'm going to go into the profile of my account. If you look for the Me icon right up here at the top and click on that, you will land on your full profile page. This right here is essentially the profile information that you contain, or that you actually control on the Twitter website. There's not a lot of stuff here that you have control over, but despite that, you still want to have all of this information set up correctly. So to start with, this image right here, this is the square image that I uploaded initially to set up this account. And then this description right here, fan pics, stories, videos, and more of custom carbon fiber vinyl wrap modifications to cars, trucks, motorcycles, and other vehicles. This is my bio description, what was also set up on that initial page. But beyond that initial information, there are a few more things here that they allow you to do with your profile. So if you just click on the Edit Profile button right here, this opens up a window that allows you to edit everything. So you can click on the image right here if you want to upload a new image or change it at some point in the future. If you only set your account as your real name and perhaps you decided you wanted to change that to your website domain name, so you could put carbonfanatic.com here instead of me using Ryan Stevenson as my name. Now down below here, there are two other sections of information that can be included. One of them is location, and the other one, if it is not filled out where you see carbonfanatic.com right here, this would say website. The website one obviously being one of the more important ones that you want to have set up. Just click on the word website and it will change into an editable text box. And then simply put your domain name there, carbonfanatic.com for my example. So now that information again gets displayed here on your profile page. This is a page that other people can actually visit. Whenever you click on somebody's username here on Twitter, you'll be taken to their profile page, which is the page you're seeing here. So other people will see this profile, they will see the link that you include here, and will therefore be able to click on this link to actually reach your website directly. Now in addition to that, they will still be able to see recent tweets that you have made down below it here. So this is a page that you can actually direct people to from your website, for example. Now beyond this initial profile setup, there's actually a little bit more. This could technically be done here on this edit profile screen, but it's kind of easily overlooked. If you notice, there is an edit button right up here in the corner, and this is actually for the background of this profile section. By default, they have a darker background here, but I have changed this background while I'm still using a dark background. This is actually a close-up picture of carbon fiber vinyl. So again, this is something that should help people to quickly recognize what my actual Twitter account is going to be about here. But you can also reach this information by clicking on the gear icon and going to Edit Profile. On this page, everything is kind of separated out for you one by one. You have the photo for your account, you have the header image, which is the background that I was just talking about, and then you have the other aspects of the profile here that you're allowed to set. Your name, your location, website, and your biography, which is limited to 160 characters. Now, you may notice that I don't have my location filled out. The reason why is because ultimately the site that I am creating here is not a site that is intended for just one specific geographic location. Ultimately, I am interested in having, worldwide readers and not just people in the USA. So I'm not going to have a location specified here because I deal with an actual website. However, there could be some circumstances where you might want to have location set if anything that you're doing has any kind of geographical importance in terms of, who you want your readers to be, you could narrow that focus down here. For example, if I was targeting a television niche, and I knew that to sell things on Amazon.com that I had to have people that lived in the USA, I might set my location as simply USA right here. But for, most cases, you probably don't need to set a location. Even if you are trying to target one specific region, there's still no harm in leaving this blank. Now, some other pages here in this particular section, you can see there's a bunch of different links over here in this sidebar menu. These different pages, I recommend going through each of them just to ensure that you have your account set up how you would like for it to be set up. One of these pages in particular is worth visiting. The design page allows you to select a pre-made theme that you can use on Twitter. So for example, for my Carbon Fanatic Twitter account, having this little cloud background ultimately doesn't fit at all, but I could change it to this darker, more industrial looking background here. Now there are some other options down below if you want to fine-tune how this background works, but ultimately the main focus of this section is just right here, picking an overall theme for your Twitter account. Now, this updates my profile page, so when other people visit my profile page, they will actually see that background as well. So this allows you to have some kind of control over what your profile page actually looks like to other people, while still keeping things pretty simple. There's no complicated coding required for Twitter in that manner like it can be for Facebook sometimes, for example. So next up, I would like to briefly discuss with you Twitter itself and how Twitter works ultimately. Now, the whole concept behind using Twitter with the blog site that you're creating is to do the same thing that you're trying to do with using Facebook. And this is to help to build up a loyal reader base, to give people a way that they can keep in touch with what you're doing on your website without having to actually return to your website every single day just to keep up with what new post you're writing, for example. It can be hard to get people to change their daily habits. Whatever they're used to doing every day, a lot of people have a routine that they're used to, and I think a lot of people make a mistake of trying to get people to change that routine. And while you can sometimes convince some people to change their routine and to work, you into their daily routine, in most cases, you'll have a lot more success if whatever you're doing can sort of mesh with the existing routines that people have. Now, social networking is one of the big things having to do with people's routines, because nowadays you have so many people that are on social networking accounts, and they're connected up with these social networking accounts from their cell phones, for example. So they're not just randomly looking at these things, once a day or maybe even once a week or something like that. There are a lot of people that are involved in their social media accounts essentially all day long, to where they look at the updates they are getting on a regular basis throughout the day. As they come into their account, they might be getting notifications to their cell phone. And so your ultimate goal here is to get people to take that normal part of their routine and simply work you into it instead of having to completely change that routine. So keep this in mind when you are crafting your messages that you post to Twitter, which again will be something that we talk about in more detail in the next class once we are actually using the plugin that is going to post our tweets for us. For now, though, I want to talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages to using Twitter. One of the main disadvantages is that you have limited control here on Twitter. The profile page, there's only so much that you can do with the information that Twitter allows you to put here. However, I kind of view this as a positive thing in a lot of ways. All the extra complicated stuff can really just make things more confusing and sidetrack you from getting to what is actually important. So in that regard, Twitter doesn't have a lot of the extra fluff that your social networks like Facebook have. Now, when it comes to the messages that you post on Twitter, both messages that you are posting manually from the Twitter website and even messages that are automatically posted from the plugin that you will end up using, they are all limited to 140 characters. So in some situations, this character limit can present a bit of a problem in terms of being able to convey your message to the point where it can actually get people interested in it and make them want to click on the link and ultimately visit your website. That can be hard to accomplish sometimes with only 140 characters. However, a lot of people are actually used to writing some kind of short descriptive summary that is within that character limit. On your actual sites, when you're going through and creating your blog post, down in the SEO settings box, when you are setting the meta description under the search engine listing tab there, that meta description specifically mentions that search engines use up to 140 characters for the meta description, and it will actually sit there and count those characters off as you are typing them. So that meta description box is a prime example of somewhere that you are likely already used to creating these short but still meaningful summary sentences for various pages on your site. So posting on Twitter is essentially going to be the same thing here. Whatever we're trying to do with our meta description or our Facebook posts in terms of getting people off of search engines to our website or getting them off of Facebook to our website, we're trying to do the same thing yet again here with Twitter. The main difference, though, with Twitter is that they have something called hashtags, and these hashtags and whatever link that you are trying to direct people to, that is all going to be included in your actual message itself. And as a result, that can take away from the number of characters that you really have to work with for writing your tweets. Now, I'll get back to this in just a little while. I will go into talking about writing your tweets in a little bit more detail here in just a few. But before I actually proceed on to that, I want to talk to you about hashtags in a little bit more detail so you'll be able to understand what I am talking about when I am actually describing writing out your tweets. Now, if you don't already know what a hashtag is simply a word or perhaps a series of words, and there's no spaces in between those words, but they are preceded by a number symbol. If you look over here in this left-hand menu, I have a box called Trends, and some of the items listed here have that number symbol out in front of them. All of these are hashtags. Well, ultimately, these hashtags are used to essentially group together or categorize different tweets that are from various people. So people that are not following your account may still be able to engage in conversation with you by associating whatever they're posting with a particular hashtag. So you may have commonly seen watching TV, for example. A lot of TV shows will put a little Twitter hashtag down in the corner of the screen while you're watching. This is to encourage people to engage in conversation about the show while it is actually going on. But since you're not necessarily going to be following all of the other people that would be watching that show and commenting on it, and vice versa, they are not necessarily going to be following you, the hashtag gives people a way to engage in that conversation without actually being followers of one another. But ultimately, it can lead to people following one another. If you are engaging in conversation on a particular hashtag topic and it is relational to your niche, then you will have people that actually follow through your account there and may end up following you on Twitter. So you can build followers this way by engaging in relational hashtag topic conversations. So now you also have some keyword phrases that are over here. They're not always going to be hashtags. Sometimes people will simply be using a specific word or a phrase within the tweets that they are posting. One example, St. Patrick's Day, coming up just on Monday. It's actually already beginning to trend because people are simply starting to talk about it. So if you go to one of these pages, you can see that all of the tweets that are showing up here contain the word St. Patrick's Day. So the same thing will go for any of these other trending topics right here. Now this is important for affiliate marketers because these particular topics are loaded with activity because they are some of the most popular topics at that given moment in time on Twitter. So if you can hook up with a relational trending hashtag or keyword phrase that has something to do with what your niche is about, you can chime in on that conversation and potentially attract new followers. Now, you don't want to abuse this particular system. Obviously, I could go on and start writing, carbon fiber vinyl post related to St. Patrick's Day, or just simply use the word St. Patrick's Day. I could be like, Happy St. Patrick's Day, check out my carbon fiber vinyl website. But ultimately, that's not going to do me any good because the people that are engaged in conversation about this topic, the chances of them being interested in carbon fiber vinyl are extremely slim. And as a result, I'm just going to end up being viewed as spam to most people with that kind of an approach. So you want to make sure that you are only chiming in on topics that actually relate to what you're doing. That's, the number one importance there. Now, the trends that are being shown here. Let's say, for example, you are targeting Amazon.com products, but maybe you don't live in the USA. So what if you are seeing trends right here that maybe they're not even in English? Let's say maybe you live in France or something and you're seeing trends that are French related, but you're wanting to, go after USA based trends and ultimately get USA readers because that's what you're targeting on Amazon. Well, you can actually change the trends that are shown on Twitter here based on a geographic location. So if you click on the change link here and click on the change button, then you can actually set a particular geographic location, and this will tailor the trends that you are being shown. So you could simply set yourself as being somewhere in the USA. Pick a large city. New York City, for example, would be a good choice. That way you will see relational trends for the USA instead of your area. So you may be able to actually jump onto some that could end up bringing you some new followers. Now, obviously, these trending topics are not going to apply to any given niche that is out there. There may be some niches that commonly have trending topics, and there may be other niches that never have trending topics. Ultimately, it doesn't matter which may be the case for your particular niche. You can still utilize this system on Twitter regardless of whether your topic is actually trending or not. what you want to do is actually use the Twitter site and perform searches up here in the search box up at the top. So now instead of searching for a keyword phrase, you can see right here for the St. Patrick's Day keyword phrase search how the entire phrase is enclosed in quote marks. Well, I could search for relational keyword phrases in this same manner, but I can also search for hashtags using this particular search bar up here. So to start a hashtag, just type in the number symbol and then follow it up with some kind of word that relates to your niche. So I could start by typing in hashtag carbon. This shows me a list of some of the more popular hashtags that are relational to whatever I have typed in. So you can see right here that carbon fiber is actually a listed hashtag. So I could then click on carbon fiber, and this will bring me to a carbon fiber page where I can find pictures that people have posted and recent tweets that people have made for this particular hashtag. Now, this is important, again, because this allows me to gauge what the interest and activity level is in this particular keyword phrase and hashtag. So what I'm really looking for here is if I scroll down below, I can kind of look at the different tweets that are being posted and look at their dates, see how far apart or close together these different posts are. So from just simply glancing at this, I can quickly tell that there are really not posts being made too horribly frequently, but there are posts being made pretty much on a daily basis here. So this tells me that this hashtag, while it's not crazy popular, there is still some activity here, and this particular page on Twitter may have some kind of regular traffic. Ultimately, when somebody makes a tweet that has a hashtag within it, you can simply click on that hashtag and you will land on this exact page that I'm viewing right now. So these can be pages on Twitter that are essentially common pages. You know, no one person has control over this page on Twitter, but you can still get your account on these particular pages by simply making a tweet that uses that particular hashtag. So for this particular example here, with these tweets that are being shown, with there not really being a ton of frequent tweets being made under this hashtag phrase, a post that I were to make today would still show up, you know, numerous days into the future. It may even show up months into the future. You can see here how I continue to scroll down the page, and I'm into tweets that were made, you know, back in February and January of this year. So this could potentially not only bring me people that might follow my account and want to read the post that I am creating, but it might also give me some prolonged exposure in that manner from always being shown on this page for months into the future, potentially. Now, there are some pages, like your trending topics over here, where these particular pages, any tweet that you were to make on one of these pages would not last very long. As you can see here with these tweets, this one right here was 5 minutes ago, and this one right here was 2 minutes ago. So there are tons of new tweets coming in on this particular topic all the time. So if you were to post something relational to this particular topic, your tweet could easily be bumped off the page in no time. You can see, just as I have been viewing this page, 19 new results have actually been posted. Obviously, this is not a topic that you would want to try to be selling anything on. It's about the Malaysian plane crash, unfortunately. But there, are a lot of topics that can show up in this trending list over here that can highly relate to a particular type of product. Here's one that just started trending: Pokemon movie titles. If you had a Pokemon niche website, or maybe even a toy niche website, this is, a topic that you could chime in on to potentially get some new loyal readers, and maybe even to simply, get some additional sales made. Now, jumping back over here to my carbon fiber hashtag search that I was working on. If I just search for the hashtag here and look at this little box that is opened up, there are a few different things being shown to me here that are worth mentioning. First of all, we have the hashtag search page itself. So this is the page that I'm already viewing here, is this page right here. So if I just click on this, I would end up on the same page. But then beyond that, I am also provided with some of the more common accounts that are posting with this particular hashtag. So if I became a frequent poster of this particular hashtag, my account might start to show up right here. So when people simply search for carbon fiber hashtag, they wouldn't necessarily even have to go through all the tweets to find my account. They could quickly find my account right here in this particular menu and visit it directly. So this can be another really good way to attract some loyal followers without ultimately having to do any kind of ongoing work to accomplish that. Now, beyond those individual accounts here, we also have a link down here at the bottom that says search all people for hashtag carbon fiber. If I click on this, this brings me to a page where I can find different accounts that have used that particular hashtag in the past. So I could simply proceed through and follow a lot of these different accounts, because they should all be relational to my niche here. But not only that, they might have friends that would be interested in what I'm doing. And so this can help to connect me in with the right circles. But these people might actually end up following me back. That's one of the things that I really like about Twitter, one of the main advantages of it, I would say, is it's really easy to get new followers on Twitter. A lot of people may not realize it, but when you follow somebody else on Twitter, you have a decent chance of them following you in return, as long as they are involved in something relational to what your niche is about. Now, you can continue to go through this same process here, searching for hashtags and searching for keyword phrases. I would actually recommend making a list of some of these relational hashtags and keyword phrases that you can find, because you can use that list later on when you're actually writing out your tweets. So your account will end up showing up for all of these relational searches on Twitter, and this can help to bring in more followers and loyal readers for you. Now, having a variety of different hashtags and keyword phrases is something that I would recommend doing. You could simply use one relational hashtag phrase over and over again for every single post that you create. So as an example, I could use carbon fiber potentially on every post that I was to make on this site. However, this would ultimately limit me to the amount of exposure that could bring in for me, because this is only one hashtag, and ultimately it's not a crazy popular hashtag compared to some of the other ones that are out there. So I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. I want to use a variety of different hashtags. So, try to figure out what different types of topics you might be posting about on your site, and try to find a relational hashtag for each of those topics. That way you will be covering a wide variety of different hashtags and keyword phrases, and increase your chances of people finding you when they are performing their own searches. Now again, next class we will be going into more detail about the tweet writing itself, because we will be using the actual plugin at that time to actually make those tweets. But for now, at least, I want to go into a little bit more detail on tweet writing, relating to some of the things that I have just been discussing with you. So first of all, getting back to the tweet box right here, the 140 character limit that I had already mentioned to you. This limit can ultimately vary. It's not just the message that you are trying to post on Twitter that gets counted here, but it's also anything else that you want to include in that message. Beyond the message itself, you will be including things like the hashtags within the text of your tweets. But then you'll also end up having a link to a page on your own website in most of your tweets, if not all of them, because that's the ultimate goal of what you're doing, is to drive people to your website. So with this in mind, you can actually end up having less characters to work with for your overall message. Now, for your keyword phrases, I recommend using them kind of heavy in your tweets. There's nothing wrong with using too many keyword phrases in your tweet, as long as the keywords actually fit with what you're saying and simply make sense. When it comes to the hashtags, though, I think that's a little bit of a different story. I personally will not use more than 2 hashtags in a single message. And these hashtags can actually be used in 2 different ways. If you look over here at the tweets that people I am following have made, you can see hashtags used in a couple different ways. Number 1, we have a hashtag being used towards the end of the message. So they'll write out a message and then simply use a hashtag that, relates to the topic that they're talking about here with this tweet. But then you have other tweets that are made where the hashtags will actually include the message itself and be somewhere within that message. So they will essentially replace a word or a phrase with the hashtag for that word or phrase. So it still makes sense when you are reading through the sentence. Now, the reason you would want to use the hashtag as a replacement instead of putting it at the end of a message is simply to help save space whenever it is possible to do so. It's not always going to be possible to do so, though. You will sometimes need to simply include the hashtag at the end of your sentence. I want to jump over here to my page real quick. You can see a tweet that I made just to put an initial tweet on this account. I have used the hashtag carbon fiber down at the end of my message. But if you look back through my message itself, you can actually see right here is the phrase carbon fiber. I could have not used the hashtag at the end here and instead replaced this keyword phrase carbon fiber with the hashtag carbon fiber. Now, at least consider whether you are wiping out a keyword phrase by changing it into a hashtag like that. I don't think people could find this post under the keyword phrase carbon fiber vinyl or carbon fiber vinyl wrap if I were to have replaced carbon fiber up here with a hashtag. I wouldn't match that full exact keyword phrase anymore. So there are some instances where you may want to use both, and there are some cases where you may need as many characters as you can possibly get for your message, and you can simply combine your message text and your hashtags to save space. Now, again, I don't recommend using more than 2 hashtags per post here. The reason why is a lot of people will commonly do something like this. I'm looking for an example if I can find one. Typically, if you will look through some of these trending topics, especially if these topics have been trending for any prolonged period of time, spammers will jump onto them pretty quickly, and they'll not only post a message using one of these hashtags, but they might post a message that is nothing but all of these hashtags and keyword phrases, all as part of the message, and there's literally nothing else to their message than that. Obviously, it gets them displayed on these pages, but it's for a pretty limited period of time because those tweets are constantly being driven down the page. But not only that, what good is that really going to do? How many people are really going to find your account there and see you spamming the trending topics and think, oh, I want to follow this guy? If nothing, that ends up getting people to unfollow you instead of what you're actually trying to achieve. So I simply wanted to mention that so it's not something that, you try to do. Keep your hashtags relevant and try not to overuse them so they're not misconstrued as being spam. Now, in a similar manner to using hashtags, you can actually use other user accounts and reference them in a particular post. So, for example, Car and Driver right here is talking about Jimmy Fallon, and he's actually linked up with Jimmy Fallon's Twitter account and also Fallon Tonight's Twitter account, and even Road and Track's Twitter account here. Simply putting the @ symbol in front of a Twitter username links up your message with that account. Now, why would this be useful for an affiliate? What kind of situation could this actually be used for? With my particular niche, this could be useful to use to reference specific car companies, for example. Let's say I'm posting a picture of a Chrysler LeBaron, and it has carbon fiber vinyl on it. Well, I could write my tweet on that, and when I say the words Chrysler LeBaron, I could change the word Chrysler and just put an @ symbol in front of it, and it'll actually link up with Chrysler's Twitter account. Now, sometimes this may do you no good whatsoever. Other times, the account that you are referencing there might actually see that and may retweet your post if they like it, and therefore give you exposure to all of their followers on their Twitter account as well as your own. So all of these different strategies here can kind of be combined when you're writing out your tweets to help you to attract more readers, to get your tweets more exposure, and ultimately, to bring in more followers for you. Now, I also mentioned using a web page URL in your tweets. A lot of the web page URLs for WordPress websites, at least, will be fairly long URLs. If I were to go to my site here and simply take one of these posts and get the URL off of the post, and then I go back here to write out a tweet. If I wanted to use this link right here in my post, you might initially think that the length of this URL would simply be too much to try to use within a tweet itself because of the character limit. Now, that's actually true to a certain extent, but Twitter has their own URL shortening service to where any URLs that you punch into a tweet here, there is a maximum number of characters that your URLs can occupy within this tweet space. And the magic number to remember is actually 22. If you're using a link that is longer than 22 characters, Twitter will automatically shorten that link for you. So you can see this is definitely more than 22 characters right here, this particular link that I'm using. But if you look right here at the count for the characters, it is reduced from 140 down to 118. That's actually 22 characters that have been taken away. But this is obviously more than 22 characters. That's because Twitter automatically recognizes that it's a link and that it will end up being shortened, and therefore that is the maximum number of characters that a link can actually occupy. So when you consider that you're going to have a tweet message and then you also would end up having some kind of space at the end of your message before the link begins, technically you're talking about 23 characters here. You can see I have a space at the beginning of my link, so my message would go before this. So this leaves me ultimately, when I'm using a link, with 117 characters that I truly have to work with for my message itself. And the message itself would need to include any text, any hashtags or keyword phrases that I might want to use, everything but the URL here basically. So that's a little more limited there than the 140 characters, but again, it's important to understand how much text you really have to work with there before you actually start creating your tweets, because you don't want things to end up getting cut off. Now, I mentioned earlier that one of my favorite things about Twitter is how easy it is to get new followers. And best of all, the fact that it can be done completely free, and it really doesn't take a lot of time or effort to do so either. Now, I actually just followed some new accounts today going through this class for you guys. But even without those, I already have 32 followers on this Twitter account. I've done absolutely no advertising. All I have done is just what I have described as part of today's class. The main key to this, though, is following other Twitter accounts that relate to your own account to get connected in with those circles. And also, a lot of people don't realize it, but when you follow somebody on Twitter, there's a decent chance they'll follow you back as long as you relate to whatever they are interested in. So using that concept, you can follow other accounts on Twitter to build your own list of followers. Now, there's a number of ways you can go about finding those accounts to follow. So I want to walk you through a number of these here today, so you can carry out this strategy with your own account and build up followers for yourself, potentially before you even write the first tweet on your account. So to start with here, we have this Who to Follow box right here. This box automatically gets populated by Twitter, and it will have accounts here based on the accounts that I am already following. So these are actually going to be, think of it as friends of friends. Anybody that I'm following, these are accounts that those people are following. So I can proceed through and follow somebody right here by simply clicking on the follow button. And I can clear out one of these if I don't like it by simply clicking on the X. Now, if I don't know about an account, let's say it's somebody's name, I could simply visit that page and see, what it is that they're doing. Wow, that guy has 1.3 million followers. So, go and read what they actually talk about. This guy is talking about cars to a certain extent. He talks about a number of different things, it looks like, but it looks like cars is something he is referring to. Now, I don't know who this guy is. I'm honestly not a big car guy myself, but there's a chance, maybe Richard Hammond has something to do with, the car industry. Maybe he's a well-known figure there or something. So, I can follow him if I feel like he closely relates. Now, if he didn't, I could simply X him out over here and move on to another one. Now, you can also find this list right here by clicking on the View All link, and this will essentially give you a larger list with a little bit more detail, where you'll end up getting a description that goes along with the account instead of simply just having to look at their account name and base whether you want to follow him on that or not. So again, proceed through and find relational accounts that you can follow. And these people may end up in return following you back. Now, I mentioned before that these are the friends of your friends, basically. You can figure out who these people are being followed by based on the text that is shown right down below it. So this guy, autoblog.com, is followed by Axon Automotive, Carbon Fiber Gear, and Car and Driver. Well, as you continue to follow more and more accounts, this list can ultimately end up getting pretty diluted. As I follow relational accounts, but maybe slightly broader topics, like I have followed any car brands that I have come across. Obviously, the people following those car brands could potentially be interested in what I'm doing, but there's no guarantee there, but it's still getting me connected in with the right circles. However, these accounts may be following other accounts that start to get even more off topic of what my niche is ultimately about. So consider this when you're browsing the list here. If your list gets too distorted to the point where you can't really find relational accounts anymore, there are some other things that you can do to find more specific types of accounts. One of them is to simply take a name of an account that you're already following. So for example, I've followed Dragonplate down here. So I could copy the username for Dragonplate, make sure I get the little @ symbol in front of it, and then I could simply search here for Dragonplate. Now, after I find Dragonplate, if I wasn't already there, I can actually open up his account here, and I can see who he is following. This might help me to figure out whether this person could potentially follow me in return. It's looking like most likely not. that guy will probably not follow me, so I can completely unfollow him. But maybe there are people following him or following somebody else that I'm connected to that could potentially be a good fit for me. Let's see, I'll try carbon fiber gear here. So I can search this guy and see that there are 977 people that are following carbon fiber gear. This is a company that actually sells carbon fiber themselves. So I could find people that are following them, and I could follow those same people and essentially try to get them to end up following me, because they should be interested in that same kind of topic because they're already following a carbon fiber company here on Twitter. So you can essentially try to target the followers of your competition in this manner. Now you can also go through the same process that I was talking to you about earlier, searching for your hashtags and keyword phrases. If you're using the search all people for a hashtag or a keyword phrase, you can easily find all the accounts using that and simply follow those accounts. You can see I have already done that here. Now, you can also go through the keyword phrases in the same manner, find people that are using the relational keyword phrases there. Now, on my account, these 32 people that have followed me, I have obtained all of these from doing nothing but following other people. But as you follow people, you can see that I just went through and followed close to 50 accounts or so just during the course of this class. I don't immediately end up getting followers from those people. People end up having to recognize that I've followed them and then in turn follow me back. So I need to keep that in mind, that this doesn't happen necessarily immediately, but it can happen within a period of a couple of days or so. You can actually get a lot of those accounts to follow you back in return. I keep noticing other car brands over here, so I keep following them. Now, the settings page that we were on earlier, I'm going to jump back over to this. If you go to your email notifications page, this particular page has a bunch of different settings here. This controls when you get notified by Twitter for various types of things happening on your account. One of them being I'm followed by someone new. You can see right here this particular option. All of these are checked by default when you first create a new Twitter account. So therefore, these settings will also be checked on other people's Twitter accounts unless they have specifically gone in and disabled some of them. So with that in mind, whenever you do something that is talked about on this page in relation to another person's account, you may be able to get Twitter to generate an email notification to send to them. And one of the easiest of these is following somebody. I'm followed by someone new. So whenever somebody follows me, then I would receive an email notifying me that that person has followed me and it also has a link in that email that tries to get me to follow them in return. So this is why you end up being able to build followers by simply doing things like following other people, because you're generating emails on Twitter that are getting sent out to all these people, and you stand a much more likely chance of getting them to follow you in return. My initial round of this, where I followed some of the most relational accounts where I could find, I followed 37 accounts, and really just within 24 hours, I had 16 of those accounts following me in return. And after another day, I think it increased to 22 or something like that. Now, after this new round of followers that I have set up here, my follower number should increase even more, potentially may even double or triple from its current number over the next few days or over the weekend, perhaps. Now, you can use this strategy over and over and over again to find essentially all the different relational accounts that exist on Twitter and try to follow them to get them to follow you in return. However, there are some limits in the Twitter system when it comes to this type of activity. Since Twitter is generating emails for a lot of those follows to notify those people, and because there is the potential for abuse with this type of system, Twitter prohibits the aggressive following of other accounts, and specifically they do not allow you to ever follow more than 1,000 accounts in the course of a single day. So I could go through today and follow 1,000 accounts, and then I could come back tomorrow and follow another 1,000 accounts. And you can continue on this same process essentially indefinitely, as long as a certain percentage of those people end up following you in return. Now, I can't tell you the exact percentage because Twitter doesn't release that percentage themselves. In fact, I suspect that it's a varying percentage. Ultimately, Twitter has a limit of a total of 2,000 people that you can actually follow on your Twitter account. However, as long as you meet that percentage requirement, they will increase that number from 2,000. They don't even specify a maximum number. So I personally believe that when you have a higher percentage of people following you in return, then they will allow you to have more and more followers. Whereas I suspect if you had a lower percentage, that while they still, if you met the minimum number and can get over 2,000 accounts, they still might limit you to another number at some point in there. So if you ever hit a limit, you'll get notified by Twitter. Nothing will happen to you as a result of hitting that limit. It just simply notifies you that you have hit that limit. And a lot of times, if you'll just wait a couple of days for some of those people to follow you back, then that limit may end up getting cleared and you can proceed with following even more accounts. Now, there is one specific thing that Twitter specifically prohibits, and that is the aggressive following of other accounts. Now, what's the difference between following a lot of accounts and following accounts aggressively? Here's the thing. Keeping in mind that when I click on the follow button for somebody, that they receive an email notification. I could potentially go through and just click on the follow button for everybody to generate that email notification to them. But since I'm limited to following 1,000 people in a day, or potentially 2,000 accounts in total if I didn't have a good percentage of followers to following, then one way to avoid all of that would be to click on the follow button to generate that notification, and then right afterwards I simply unfollow the person again. That is specifically prohibited by Twitter. Do not even attempt to do something like that on your account. It's okay if you unfollow somebody, but you don't want to sit there and follow a couple hundred people and then go back through and unfollow those couple hundred people. Even if it was done, maybe the next day or something like that, could still be considered aggressive following of other accounts and trying to abuse the system and bypass the limits that they have, basically. So simply keep that in mind when you're following accounts yourself. Only follow accounts that you intend to continue to follow. Don't follow them and then unfollow them, especially in bulk. Now, ultimately, there may be some kind of software out there that would go through the Twitter system and automatically follow people for you. However, Twitter specifically prohibits the use of automated systems to obtain new followers. So even if software like that does exist, I would still recommend avoiding it. It really doesn't take a lot of time and effort to go through and find and follow your own accounts here. Now, one other thing here that I would like to mention is something called a retweet. I'm going to go to my profile page here because I've already retweeted a particular message. This post right here, it says Matt Red GTR. Matt Red is actually a type of vinyl wrap. So I considered this to be something closely relational to what my niche was about. So I decided to retweet this particular post. Now, a retweet, let me go over to my homepage here so I can get a message that is completely new. If you look at any given tweet that is from somebody that you are following, you can find a little retweet link to go along with each of them. If you click on retweet, it will simply take this tweet and publish it to your followers as though you basically made the post. But it still lists, the other person's account there to go along with that. Now, the purpose in doing this, it kind of has two benefits. Number one, the extra tweets can end up being welcomed by your followers, especially when, your site may only cover a very specific lineup of information and topics, but there could be other relational things that, maybe you're not covering, but your readers would still have an interest in. You can give them some extra content this way, change things up a little bit by sharing tweets from other accounts instead. Now, in addition to that, when the account that you retweeted that post from, if they notice that you retweeted their post, they may end up doing the same for one of your posts in the future. If I go to my notifications page, you can see that things here are that generate activity. One of them is, things having to do with retweets. My retweets are marked as favorites. My retweets are retweeted. Up here, I even have someone shares a tweet. My tweets get a reply, or I'm mentioned in a tweet. Tweets I'm mentioned in are retweeted. My tweets are retweeted. All of these different scenarios will generate notifications once again, so it will hopefully not go unnoticed that you have retweeted a message from somebody else. Now, when you're considering retweeting somebody's message, you're browsing through your homepage here, looking at tweets that other people have made. How do you tell, despite, the fact that some may be more relational tweets than others here, ultimately, how do you pick something, or how do you choose an account to decide to retweet, to try to target with this strategy? What I would recommend to do is visit the actual page, the profile page for an account that you're considering retweeting. So, for example, gtspirit.com here. There's another relational website. They're not necessarily having to do with carbon fiber vinyl specifically, but they have to do with cars. So there's a good chance that I could maybe get this account to retweet one of my posts in the future. So jumping over to their account, what I am looking for is, number one, I need for them to preferably be following me. That way they will end up seeing my tweets in the future and may end up retweeting them. Otherwise, they'll get notified that I retweeted their post, but ultimately they might not see any of my tweets unless they are also following me. So you can either look through their list of following, or you can also do that on your account and just figure out who is following you. So this may actually be one of the best places to start from. Go to your followers list and try to find some relational account here and continue on with research for them. So now look at how many people they have following them. GT Spirit has 6,400 people following them. The people that I actually retweeted here, really nice cars, they have 131,000 people following them. So they actually have a really nice audience, and they are commonly making posts of their own. You can see that just today, in the last 19 hours, they actually have 5 different tweets that they have made. Now, the other thing that is important here, before you decide to retweet somebody, not only do you want to make sure they're following you, but you also want to make sure that they actually retweet stuff. How do you figure that out? By simply going to their profile page. Just look at what their tweets are and see if the tweets that they have been making, if they are all their own tweets, or see if they have ever retweeted anything. Now, even though I have not run across anything yet for this particular person, I happen to know that they do indeed retweet stuff. If I continue to scroll down here, somewhere in here they have some tweets that are not their own original tweets. They have actually been retweeting for some other accounts. So that is what you're looking for here. You want to confirm that they might actually retweet for you and that they're following you, and preferably that they have a decent number of followers on their account as well. So when all of this checks out, then simply try to retweet something that is relational to what it is that you're doing. And then maybe in the future they will retweet something of yours that is relational. Obviously, if I could get this guy to retweet something from my account, you know, these followers could be highly interested in whatever it is that I'm posting. And I could not only generate a lot of traffic to my site that way, but I could also get a whole bunch of new followers. I could end up getting some of his followers to follow my account as a result. So you can kind of see how using these different strategies on Twitter to connect yourself up with these other accounts and to, you know, maybe offer some benefit to other accounts in hope to get some benefit back from them. You know, this type of thing really works on Twitter because that's all there is to do on Twitter. You know, there really is not a whole lot more to it than that, unless you get into using their API system, for example, and, you know, trying to do some automated things through Twitter. In terms of what you can do there manually yourself, you know, there's not a lot to it. So these are the things that are the most commonly used and also the most potentially beneficial to you as a marketer, not just for your Amazon affiliate accounts, but this can really also apply to pretty much anything else you would ever want to do on Twitter to you know, gain some new followers and leads. Now, do any of you have any questions for me? I believe I have covered everything for this particular class, and would like to open the floor to open question and answer session now.